welcome back to our channel. This tiny penny could be worth over $100,000. Don't spend it, watch this first. The year was 1964, a time of sweeping transformation in America. The country stood at the crossroads of political evolution, civil rights marches, and the early embers of the Vietnam War. Amidst the turbulence, one of the most trusted constants remained unchanged in the public eye: the humble penny. Minted in the billions, the 1964 Lincoln cent rolled off the presses with the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the stately Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. It was ordinary in appearance, common in circulation, and seemingly identical to countless others minted in years before and after. But even in that tide of uniformity, something unexpected happened. In the Philadelphia Mint, where countless machines roared in rhythm, producing copper coins day and night, there was no room for hesitation. The minting process was efficient, practiced, and seemingly foolproof. Yet in 1964, as the United States prepared for a shift in coinage due to the rising price of silver, the mint faced pressure to keep production volumes high. Every error was meant to be caught. Every flawed blank discarded. And yet, not all of them were. One such anomaly escaped. It was subtle at first glance, so subtle that for decades, it passed unnoticed through pockets, registers, and coin jars across the country. A single 1964 penny, seemingly no different, but housing a flaw so rare that its true nature wouldn't be discovered for more than 2 generations. And when it finally surfaced, it didn't just disrupt expectations, it reshaped them. The discovery came quietly. In a dusty Illinois attic, a man named Richard was sorting through the belongings of his late father, a post-war veteran and casual coin saver. Among the boxes of stamps and yellowing envelopes was a glass jar filled with old pennies, most darkened with age. Richard almost passed them over. But a glint from the bottom of the jar caught his eye. A slightly brighter hue. A 1964 Lincoln cent that looked just a bit too sharp for its age. He rolled it in his fingers, noting the crispness of Lincoln's features. The relief seemed unusually high. The lettering was thick, bold. The rim showed extra thickness, particularly around "In God We Trust." There was something else too. A shadow-like impression of the date, ever so faintly doubled. He flipped it over. The reverse, though familiar, had strange markings near the edges, dye-flow lines radiating outward like waves frozen in metal. Curious, Richard brought the penny to a local coin shop. The owner, an old hobbyist with decades of experience, took one look under magnification and leaned back in his chair. He didn't speak right away. He simply held the coin in silence before finally muttering, "You might have something very, very rare here." What Richard held was not just a double-die penny. It was what experts would later confirm to be a 1964 Lincoln cent struck on a transitional planchet, one not made entirely of the usual bronze alloy. Instead, it showed signs of a mixed composition, likely the result of leftover blanks from a foreign contract or experimental stock mistakenly used during high-speed production. The color, slightly off from traditional copper, had a pale reddish-gold tone. Its density was slightly lower. And the doubling on the obverse, though not dramatic, was unmistakable. News of the coin spread slowly but steadily. It was sent to a top-tier grading service, where it underwent metallurgical analysis. The results were fascinating. The coin contained trace elements of zinc and tin in levels inconsistent with standard U.S. bronze composition at the time. More curiously, the strike pressure on the coin suggested it had been minted on a planchet that was not the right thickness, leading to excessive force during the die impact. This explained the abnormally high relief and the slight distortion near the date and motto. Collectors began to take notice. Some whispered that it might be a penny struck on a foreign coin blank. Others suggested it was a test strike from an experimental batch. The mint remained silent on the issue, offering no formal recognition. But numismatic scholars traced similar metallurgical anomalies to coins struck for U.S. military bases overseas, where foreign planchets were occasionally repurposed during emergencies. Whatever its origin, the coin was unique. Richard's penny was given a special designation upon grading: 1964 Lincoln cent struck on transitional alloy planchet with partial double die obverse. It was assigned a mint state rating, making it not only rare in composition but exceptionally preserved. That combination sent ripples through the collecting world. Soon, other reports emerged. A 1964 penny from Oregon showed similar doubling around the word Liberty. Another from Texas displayed a faint ghost image of Lincoln's profile shifted slightly off-center. But none had the same composition anomaly as Richard's. His coin remained the standout, the one that defied classification. Its existence suggested that at some point in 1964, the boundaries of minting protocol had blurred, perhaps during a moment of transition, confusion, or silent experimentation. Collectors speculated wildly. Had the mint been testing new metal compositions earlier than previously believed? Had foreign blanks made their way into domestic presses without documentation? Or was it simply a once-in-a-million accident, a perfect storm of materials, timing, and oversight? The truth was locked in time, but the value was beginning to show. In early 2021, Richard's coin was privately appraised at $62,000. Months later, it was featured in a rare coin exhibit, displayed beside other notable errors from American minting history. Attendees marveled at how ordinary it looked, how easy it would be to miss its significance. But seasoned collectors understood that sometimes, the most profound treasures are the ones that hide in plain sight. As interest grew, so did prices. A similar 1964 penny with clear doubling but standard composition sold at auction for $18,000. Another, with faint planchet thinning and slight reverse distortion, went for $22,000. But Richard's coin remained unmatched in its combination of features. Offers reached six figures. One collector offered $110,000, but Richard declined, choosing instead to place the coin into a trust for his grandchildren. In 2023, a new discovery in California reignited the buzz. A 1964 penny found in an old soda machine was confirmed to be struck on a silver alloy planchet, an even rarer deviation believed to be a result of a minting mix-up involving dime blanks. That coin fetched $126,000 at auction, breaking previous records. Suddenly, all eyes returned to the 1964 cent, a coin once thought mundane, now viewed as a minefield of potential hidden errors. Today, the 1964 U.S. Lincoln penny is no longer just another copper coin in a drawer. It has become a symbol of how easily history can hide beneath routine. With tens of billions minted, the odds of finding an error may seem infinitesimal, but that is precisely what gives these coins their allure. Depending on the specifics of the error, be it composition anomalies, double dies, off-metal strikes, or transitional planchets, authenticated 1964 pennies have been known to reach values ranging from $60,000 to $135,000. For most, they look like any other coin. But for those who know where to look, they are glimpses into the quiet chaos of a mint under pressure, and the timeless mystery held in even the smallest pieces of change. The United States in 1975 was a nation balancing on a tightrope between turbulence and transition. The Vietnam War had just ended, leaving deep scars on the American psyche. A new sense of uncertainty loomed over the economy as inflation reared its head, and public trust in government wavered in the wake of Watergate. Yet in the midst of all that noise, life continued. Commerce moved. Coins exchanged hands at counters and gas stations, slipping into pockets, drawers, and coffee cans without a second thought. And among them, the penny, small, coppery, and ever-present, remained a quiet constant. In that year, billions of Lincoln cents were struck by the U.S. Mint. But one of them wasn't quite like the rest. The 1975 Lincoln penny was supposed to be uniform. It bore the same design as it had since 1959, President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, facing right, with the Lincoln Memorial gracing the reverse. The planchets used were of a reliable copper alloy, 95% copper, 5% tin and zinc, producing a familiar reddish-orange hue. The Philadelphia and Denver mints worked tirelessly to meet national demand. There were no commemorative designs. No special issues. Just business as usual, but even the most predictable systems carry room for deviation. Somewhere, amid the endless pressings of coins in one of the massive minting halls, something broke pattern. The kind of event so minor it wasn't even noticed at the time. A blank slightly off in composition, a die not aligned perfectly, a press that slipped a fraction of a millimeter. One such mistake, though invisible to almost everyone, would grow in significance over the next 4 decades. And its story would not begin with numismatic fanfare, but with a young boy cleaning out his grandfather's tackle box. In rural Ohio, a man named Eric inherited a small lakeside cabin after his grandfather passed. It had sat largely untouched for years, and most of the old tools, magazines, and gear seemed destined for the donation pile. But when Eric opened a rusted green tackle box, he found something unexpected: a leather pouch filled with coins. Some were buffalo nickels. Others, tarnished dimes. And near the bottom, a stack of pennies bound by an aging rubber band. Eric almost dropped them back in the pouch, until one penny caught the light just right. It looked like a 1975 Lincoln cent, but something was off. The surface had a deep, almost golden sheen, not like copper, but something brighter, glossier. He picked it up. The edges were unusually sharp. The rim looked doubled. The date, 1975, appeared slightly misaligned, as though shifted eastward just a hair. And Liberty seemed thicker than usual. His instincts flared. He remembered reading years ago about rare pennies fetching thousands. Curious but cautious, he tucked the coin into a small envelope and brought it home. Eric contacted a local coin dealer who agreed to examine it. When the dealer placed the coin under magnification, he paused. There was clear doubling on the obverse text. Not dramatic, but sharp enough to be noticed by a trained eye. The 5 in 1975 looked like it had a shadow. The I in God We Trust showed doubling at the top. Even Lincoln's profile, though subtle, seemed slightly bloated, with visible traces of a secondary impression. More intriguingly, the dealer noted that the coin weighed slightly less than it should have. Not enough to be discounted as post-mint damage, but enough to suggest an issue with the original planchet. And then came the test with the magnet. The penny didn't react, but under spectrographic analysis, the results were compelling. Traces of aluminum alloy, elements not standard in US cents at the time, showed up faintly in the metal composition. Eric had stumbled onto something rare. His coin wasn't just a double die, it was struck on an off-metal planchet, a transitional error that likely occurred during a material testing phase or due to misallocated blanks from another foreign minting contract. During the 1970s, the U.S. Mint occasionally struck foreign coins, and the blanks for these issues sometimes overlapped with domestic operations. A mistake like this, while highly improbable, wasn't impossible. As numismatic experts reviewed the coin, their consensus solidified: it was a 1975 Lincoln penny struck on a lightweight, off-metal planchet, possibly intended for a coin of different denomination or origin. Combine that with the minor but clear double die features, and this penny became something more than an anomaly. It became a centerpiece. Other examples began to surface. A collector in New Jersey found a 1975 cent that had doubling only on the word "trust," along with a faint reeded edge, a bizarre feature for a penny. Another, from Arizona, was struck on a dime planchet, missing part of the design due to the smaller blank size. Each of these coins echoed the same narrative: that 1975, though unremarkable on the surface, held beneath it a layer of overlooked mistakes and mysteries. Eric's coin was certified by a top grading service. It was encapsulated and labeled with a special error designation, confirming its off-metal origin and double die features. Word spread in niche collecting circles, then expanded into broader coin forums. Auctioneers reached out. Offers came in, first $8,000, then $12,500, then $25,000 from an anonymous buyer. But Eric waited. He believed the story wasn't finished yet. In 2021, the coin was featured in a special exhibition on U.S. Mint errors of the 20th century. It sat beside the legendary 1955 double die, the elusive 1943 copper cent, and the mysterious 1974 aluminum cent. Eric's penny was one of only a handful known from 1975 with such a unique convergence of mistakes. It was a snapshot of an overlooked year and a reminder that perfection, even in systems built on repetition, is never guaranteed. As market interest deepened, the penny's value climbed. A similar off-metal 1975 cent sold privately for $59,000. One with reverse die cracks fetched $64,000. The rarity, the year, and the confirmed error profile combined into a collector's dream, especially for a coin that otherwise had no celebrated variation or commemorative release. Eric finally accepted an offer in 2023. The final price was not made public, but insiders suggested it was comfortably within six figures. The buyer, a private collector with a fascination for transitional errors, called it the coin that never should have existed. Now, the 1975 US 1-cent penny has earned its place in numismatic lore. For most people, it remains just another date on a coin they've seen countless times. But for those who dig deeper, who examine the edges and textures and unexpected weights, it represents something more profound, depending on the nature of the error, be it off-metal composition, double dies, misaligned strikes, or foreign blank usage. Authenticated 1975 Lincoln pennies have been valued between $52,000 to $122,000. Not because they're gold, not because they're famous, but because in a world designed for sameness, they dared to be different. Quietly. Almost invisibly. Until someone noticed. The turn of the millennium was marked by global anticipation, digital evolution, and the dawn of a new era. In the United States, the year 2000 wasn't just symbolic, it was reflective of a population ready to embrace the future while still holding tightly to traditions. Across the country, everyday life unfolded with familiar rhythms. People still paid for coffee with spare change, tossed pennies into fountains, and left tips at diners with coins stacked neatly on top of receipts. Among them, the US 1-cent penny remained a staple, small, copper-plated, and often overlooked. But in that vast sea of minted coins, something rare and unintentional took shape. Tucked away in the ordinary, the 2000 Lincoln cent, like many before it, featured the iconic image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. The composition had changed in 1982 from mostly copper to a core of zinc with a thin copper plating. These post-1982 cents were lighter, more cost-effective, and efficient to produce. The minting process was streamlined, modernized, and running at enormous volumes. Yet even with such advancements, perfection was never guaranteed. In one brief lapse of precision, a coin slipped through with an anomaly so subtle that it went unnoticed for years. It wasn't discovered by a seasoned collector or a professional dealer. It was found by a high school student named Ava in Colorado who had been saving coins in a small jar for a school art project. She was gluing pennies to form the outline of a tree, each coin representing a year from 1990 to 2010. As she sorted through the pile, polishing them one by one, her attention paused on a 2000 dated cent that didn't feel quite right. It was brighter, with a golden shimmer that didn't match the others. The weight felt slightly off when she tossed it into her hand. Most kids would have shrugged it off. But Ava was curious. She showed it to her father, who happened to be a history teacher and amateur coin enthusiast. He held it under a desk magnifier and raised an eyebrow. The edges weren't smooth. They were faintly reeded, a feature that shouldn't appear on a penny. And more startlingly, the AM, in America, on the reverse was spaced further apart than normal. They began to research. They learned about a particular variety known to experts, the wide AM reverse, where the letters A and M in America were clearly separated rather than touching. This variation wasn't intended for circulation in 2000. It was used for proof coins struck at the San Francisco Mint. Somehow, a reverse die meant only for proofs had been mistakenly used in general circulation production. Ava's penny was not just a wide AM variety. Further inspection revealed even more irregularities. The coin's surface showed subtle raised lines across the fields, indicating possible die polishing or overuse. The rim had an inconsistent thickness. Under magnification, doubling could be seen faintly on the word Liberty and on Lincoln's eyelid, characteristics suggestive of a double die. But the most puzzling feature remained the faint reading on the edge, a mystery that pointed to the possibility of an off-metal planchet, perhaps even one intended for a foreign denomination or a misfeed from the dime press. They sent the coin to a certified grading service. After weeks of analysis, the report confirmed their suspicions. The penny was a 2000 wide AM Lincoln cent, struck using a proof reverse die, and exhibiting mild doubling on the obverse along with edge striations likely caused by a planchet anomaly. It had also retained a surprisingly high level of luster, with almost no contact marks. It graded extremely well, far above average for a circulated coin. Ava's simple curiosity had uncovered something truly exceptional. Word spread across coin forums. The combination of the wide AM variety with secondary error features made her coin a standout. Collectors from across the country reached out, offering to purchase it. Initially unsure, Ava and her father began to see the coin not just as a collector's piece, but as a historical fragment, a reminder that even in the most mechanically advanced operations, human and technical errors still whispered through. This wasn't the only such coin discovered. In other parts of the country, similar 2000 wide AM cents were found, some clean, some damaged, but all confirming that a small number of incorrect reverse dies had been used for circulation. Theories emerged. Some believed it was due to proof dies mistakenly installed at the Philadelphia Mint. Others thought it may have been intentional, a quiet test to evaluate reverse design longevity under circulation wear. Whatever the cause, the rarity was undisputed. Another collector from Virginia unearthed a similar coin at a flea market. His had the wide AM reverse but was also struck off-center, with part of the design missing along the rim. That coin sold privately for over $40,000. A third, found in Florida with strong obverse doubling, was auctioned for just under $70,000. But Ava's example, due to its unique combination of features, proof reverse, mild obverse doubling, possible off-metal edge traits, and near mint state preservation, stood alone. In early 2024, the coin was displayed at a national numismatics convention. It attracted attention not just from collectors, but from mint historians. They noted how such a coin revealed the complexities of transition periods in U.S. coin production, especially in an era when digital systems still relied on mechanical foundations. Machines were precise, but they still needed human oversight. And sometimes, all it took was one overlooked switch of a die to create a numismatic legend. What began as a school project became a life lesson for Ava. She declined early offers and held on to the coin, storing it in a secure holder and keeping it as both an investment and a memory. Eventually, she planned to pass it down to her younger brother. Not for the money, she said, but for the story. The 2000 US 1-cent penny is proof that even in a modern minting environment, imperfections persist. These errors, be they die swaps, doubling, or planchet irregularities, offer glimpses into the unseen corners of US coinage history. And while most people will spend or discard their pennies without thought, a few lucky observers will spot the difference. A wider spacing here. A heavier relief there. A shimmer of color that doesn't quite match, depending on the type of error present, whether it's the rare wide AM reverse, obverse doubling, planchet anomalies, or a hybrid of multiple features. Certified and authenticated 2000 Lincoln cents have reached values ranging from $40,000 to $104,000. A penny to most. But to those who understand what to look for, it's a hidden story, waiting in the palm of your hand.